People have accomplished extraordinary things throughout history on our planet. Humans have been sent to the moon, dived to the Mariana Trench, and climbed Mount Everest. Yet there remains an island in the world that is nearly unexplored, and not much is known about it. On this island lives a tribe that exists completely isolated from the rest of the world. Time on this island seems to have stopped, and there is no knowledge of current world events. The tribe lives in a very primitive way and does not want any contact with outsiders. Over the years, many have attempted to approach the island, but nearly all have failed. If you try to approach the island, you can almost be sure that the angry inhabitants will attack you with their bows and arrows. Welcome to discover this mysterious island, and the people who don't worry much about things like climate change. North Sentinel Island is located in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands archipelago, part of India. More precisely, it is located in the Bay of Bengal, 1,300 kilometers from India and 300 kilometers from Myanmar. The closest modern city is about 50 kilometers away. This city is Port Blair, which has an international airport and an Indian Navy base. The island is small, about 72 square kilometers in size, which is roughly the size of a small town. An estimated 150 people live there, but the exact number is unknown. It is covered by dense forests, with beaches surrounding it almost entirely. Coral reefs make access difficult by boat, and the central part of the island has slightly higher terrain. The Sentinels' way of life is entirely based on natural resources, as they are hunter-gatherers who acquire everything they need from the forest, the sea, and their surroundings. They fish in shallow waters, hunt crabs, and hunt small animals like birds and wild boar using bows, arrows, and spears. They also gather coconuts, fruits, honey, and edible roots. From the sea, they collect shellfish, turtles, and other marine life. The forest and the sea provide a sustainable and self-sufficient way of life. They live in simple shelters made of bamboo, branches, and leaves, which are either large communal ones or smaller, private huts. The use of fire is an important part of their daily life, but they are not known to light fires themselves. Instead, they maintain a constant fire. Tools and weapons such as bows, arrows, spears, and knives are made from the island's natural materials or from the wreckage of ships. These tools help them hunt, fish, and defend themselves. While little is known about their community structure, observations suggest tight cooperation and a possible division of labor, where men hunt and fish while women gather food and take care of children. The Sentinels are one of the last remaining Paleolithic, Stone Age communities, and they are believed to have lived on the island uninterrupted for up to 60,000 years. They are genetically closely related to other indigenous people of the Andaman Islands, but their language and culture are unique and not fully understood. The island of Sentinel remained largely uncontacted by outsiders for a long time. Even today, encounters with outsiders are rare, as access to the island has been heavily restricted over the years. In 1867, an Indian merchant ship, the Nineveh, was shipwrecked near the coral reefs off North Sentinel Island. The ship carried about 86 passengers and crew members, who had to flee to the island for safety. The survivors built a camp on the beach while waiting for rescue, but their difficulties soon began. When the Sentinels noticed the survivors, they began to attack. The Sentinels used bows and arrows, and their behavior was highly hostile, as they apparently saw the intruders as a threat. This event provided early evidence of their desire to remain completely isolated from the outside world. The shipwrecked survivors survived the ordeal, as a British Indian Navy vessel arrived and rescued them. This encounter marked one of the first documented contacts between the Sentinels and outsiders. Brits became more interested in this island and its inhabitants, so in 1879, they decided to organize an expedition to the island. Maurice Vidal Portman, a British naval officer, led a military detachment to the island with the goal of studying and mapping the tribe. When his group arrived at North Sentinel Island, they initially couldn't find any inhabitants. The Sentinels had retreated deep into the forest, apparently to avoid contact with outsiders. However, Portman's team managed to find and capture a few of the island's inhabitants, 2 elderly people and 4 children. The captives were taken to Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman Islands, where Portman intended to civilize and study them. Soon, all of them fell ill, and 2 of the elderly died. The remaining survivors were eventually sent back to the island, as their immune systems couldn't withstand the bacteria of the modern world. In 1974, an Indian documentary crew attempted to film the Sentinels as part of a documentary called Man in Search of Man, which focused on the indigenous people of the Andaman Islands. The group approached North Sentinel Island by boat, carrying gifts such as coconuts, aluminum pots, and other items, hoping to gain a friendlier reception from the Sentinels. When the group neared the island, the Sentinels appeared on the shore armed with bows and arrows. They initially observed the group with suspicion, but when the gifts were left on the shore, they responded aggressively. One sentinel shot an arrow that struck the documentary crew leader in the thigh, despite him staying at a safe distance in the boat. The situation forced the crew to retreat quickly, and no further attempts were made to establish contact. In 2006, 2 Indian fishermen accidentally drifted to North Sentinel Island when their boat veered off course. The men had consumed some alcohol, which led them to fall asleep and drift to the island. They tried to escape, but the sentinels noticed them and attacked. The men were quickly killed with arrows and their bodies were left on the island. Indian authorities attempted to retrieve the bodies using a helicopter, but the sentinels blocked the rescue by shooting arrows at the helicopter. The bodies remained on the island. After such incidents, India tightened its control over the area. For example, after this fisherman's incident, India established a boundary around the island that must not be crossed. The boundary is roughly 5 kilometers from the island. Christianity has been attempted to be spread to almost every corner of the world, including the Sentinelese island. In 2018, an American missionary, John Allen Chow, illegally traveled to North Sentinel Island, attempting to convert the Sentinels to Christianity. Chow made several attempts to approach the island. Despite the Indian government's strict ban on travel to the island, he brought gifts with him. But the Sentinels shot him with arrows, and he was killed on the shore. His body was left on the island, and efforts to retrieve it were unsuccessful. The incident garnered international attention and criticism, as Chow had broken the law and endangered both the Sentinels and his own safety. The Sentinels are a resilient people. It's hard to believe that they have survived on that island for up to 60,000 years. For example, they even survived the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you'd like to hear about next, and leave a like if you think the Sentinels are a tough group.